Their locally trained workers to help build for the future. Local 83 helps design, fabricate, and build the gas infrastructure for the oil and gas industry here in the Ohio Valley. Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 83 is 300 members strong and growing. They also do residential, commercial, and industrial work on both sides of the river. For more information, call Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 83 at 304-233-4445.
Save big money in your next project with 11% off everything now at Menards. Keep your outdoor living space protected and beautiful for years to come with exterior wood stains and finishes from Woolman. Woolman provides excellent color retention and mildew resistance with extreme weather protection technology. All 11% off. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through May 31st. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the watchdog trusts.
Does your dog need groomed or walked? Are you looking for a pet sitter or dog boarding options? If so, call Dirty Paws, Wheeling's newest pet care service, providing the Ohio Valley with everyone's pet care needs. Check us out on Facebook at Dirty Paws WHG or call 304-639-7754.
Millions plan for retirement online. Estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, and manage your benefits all from the comfort of your home. And give yourself the freedom to do what you want offline. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker Darnell Foster with a look at your local weather forecast for your Tuesday. A mix of sun and clouds, a daytime high of 88 degrees, overnight low of 66 under partly cloudy skies, the chance of a scattered shower for your Wednesday, otherwise clouds and sunshine mixing, with temperatures in the mid-80s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
A fresh take on local, regional, and national news. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe, brought to you in part by Wheeling Hospital.
Temperature moving up a little bit, 69 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. Partly cloudy now at the airport. Still 67 and foggy here at my home studios. And 67 and foggy at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling. In the heart of the Ohio Valley, we are looking at basically the weather word of the day, pit dripper. We're going to see really high heat, pushing close to 90, probably not quite there, but close to 90. Very hot, very humid, very muggy today. So it's going to be a pit dripper throughout the day today. I'm going to see some sun pushing through the clouds as I just look out the window here at the home studio. So sun's beginning to make its presence known. Still foggy, but the sun's kind of make its way known. We'll see eventually at least a partly sunny day later in the day today. It's 8:10 in the morning here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Before I get to Tom Squitieri, every once in a while these stories cross my desk, and the first thing I think is, well, I don't even understand that. I don't do that. And then I stop and go, oh, wait, maybe I do. Biffy, do you have a favorite snack? What's your favorite snack? I mean, you like, peanut butter crackers or, I don't know, chocolate-covered pretzels, or, do you have a favorite snack of some kind?
Pringles.
Oh, yeah, can't go wrong with Pringles. I'm with you on that. Now, if you have Pringles around the house, do you try to hoard them for yourself, or do you share them with other people?
A little of both.
Okay, you're an honest man. You're an honest man. New survey of 2,000 Americans found that almost half, 48% of the people surveyed, say they hide some of their favorite snacks so their family or friends won't take them. Now, when I saw that, I thought, how silly is that? That's ridiculous. And then I got thinking about, my oldest son comes down all the time, just lives a couple doors down. You all know that. Comes down frequently, middle of the day, often late at night, comes in. Dad, got any cupcakes down here? His mom buys Hostess cupcakes. Or, got any Oreos? Got any cookies? And I got to be honest. And he's my son, and I love him, and he gave me my wonderful grandson, Teddy. I hide him from him. I tell him no. Sorry, no cupcakes, son. Nope, your mother didn't buy any this time. Because he takes my cupcakes. So when I saw this story, I thought, oh, who would hide food from their family? And then I realized, no, it's actually me. Actually me. Among those who said they have hidden snacks in the past from their family, 69% say they still hide snacks from their family. And 72% of the people surveyed say they hide their stuff, but somebody has found their stash, and then they have to find new hiding spots. So, it's just, again, at first I thought, oh my, this is not right. Then I realized, yeah, it is. And I love my son, but, he comes, he takes my cupcakes all the time. 8:12 in the morning here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Next hour, we're going to talk about the Vax-A-Million drawing in Ohio. The drawing was held last night. This is the first one of the $5 million lotteries that Governor DeWine has announced for those who are residents of Ohio and are vaccinated. And it began yesterday. The first drawing was last night. For reasons I don't fully understand, they're not going to announce the winner until tomorrow. But at any rate, there's a group of Ohio Republican lawmakers who are trying to stop this whole idea of a vaccine lottery. So Tyler Buchanan is joining us in the Ohio Capitol Journal later on to talk to us about that. We'll get into that coming up next hour. Is Tom with us?
Yes, he is.
It's a Tuesday. It must mean it's time for Tom Squitieri. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday, indeed.
Happy Tuesday to you. Do you ever hide food from your family members?
Not really. They know all my hiding places, so it's a useless effort. But to be honest with you, my children tend to eat leftover cooking of mine, which is interesting. So I encourage that.
Yeah, the kids come down. I was telling a friend of mine yesterday, we were on the phone, and she has young girls that are just of high school age, and we're talking about how kids grow up and so on. And she said, "Oh, I thought by the time they're of high school age, I wouldn't have to worry about them." I said, "Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
Right.
My kids are 40, and they still come down every day and say, Mom, can you make me a sandwich?"
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean this with great love. They're never gone. They're always around. Are you a good cook, Tom?
I am a good cook, and I hate to boast on air, but I am. I was a single guy for a long time, and I refused to believe that single guys have to eat poorly, and just open cans of food and stuff like that. And my sister was in the food business for most of her career. So between her and my mother, Italian family, I learned to cook, and I love cooking. And it's carried over to my kids. When they were very little, we used to watch the cooking shows, on TV, and they really got into it. So I think that really opened their eyes to how fun cooking is. I wish they would have come over more now to watch the cooking show that was on this thing on CNN that Stanley Tucci did, visiting Italy with all the great food there. But that just kind of gives you the idea. So I like tasty and healthy combination of food, and as well as being a little experimental.
Especially?
Having been a reporter in many countries was marvelous because of the way I got to taste new cuisines and then bring back ideas.
Do you have a specialty that you're really proud of?
The one dish that surprises a lot of people, of which I'm proud of, is I make a duck with a curry honey glaze, okay, that is not fatty or anything like that and is delicious. And you cannot come into the house when it's cooking and not want to try it because it just smells so good when it's roasting.
That's one of I'm not smelling it, but I want to try it right now. That sounds really good. I love duck.
It's really, really good. Yeah, I mean, you asked me, and I'm answering. It's one of the ones that I can make. That is special.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Well, you mentioned that hiding things would be useless. Speaking of useless things, clever segue into politics here. Speaking of useless things. Congress passed the Capitol Insurrection Commission, the January 6th Commission, this past week. But I'm beginning to think it may have been a useless gesture by the House because I don't know that it's going to make its way through the Senate. So let's talk about what's happening with that.
Sure. I think that you're absolutely correct that the Republicans have dug in against recognizing the insurrection of January 6th. And not wanting to do anything about why it happened, what the roots are, how can it be avoided. Now, there's a lot of theories that I'm hearing now from Pentagon officials and people on Capitol Hill about the lead up to that, which we can talk about in a minute. But here's an example of the Republican resistance. Senator Tuberville, he's from Alabama, he said he's opposed to the commission until they make it bipartisan. Okay, now the bill in the House was co-sponsored by Republican Representative Katko, and about 36
who was essentially an emissary of Kevin McCarthy's.
Okay, and more than about 36, 40 some Republicans voted for it. So it is a bipartisan bill. It's not like one or two Republicans voted for it. Yet, so he thinks it's not bipartisan. That's the kind of things we're hearing to go under the useless category. And someone else pointed out, and I wish I remembered which member of Congress did this, he took basically the language of this commission and compared it to the language of the commission established after 9/11, and it was essentially word for word in the scope and the merits and the goals. So, it's not like it's... and there's been proposals to have it equally divided between independent Republicans and Democrats, meaning not members of the Congress, but people who were prominent, who are or were prominent members of the party or in their circles. And you're hearing. I was listening to the radio the other day, driving in, and I was listening to Scott Brown, who was a former senator from Massachusetts, now lives in New Hampshire. He's a Republican. He took Ted Kennedy's seat when Kennedy died. he said that he'd be on it. He said he could list several Republicans like himself who were in office who know Congress. So it's not for a lack of qualified people in a bipartisan nature. It's just they don't want to do it.
I posted a piece from the Washington Post last night, an analysis of this. The Republicans are really, in my mind, and in this analysis point of view, they're just scrambling. I mean, it's scattergun. They're objecting for this reason. No, maybe we're objecting for this reason. No, I think it's the bottom line, I think, Tom, is it's all politics.
Oh, it is all politics. There's also concern, I think, of loyalty to President Trump, who is the kingmaker in that party. You're seeing a lot of things I find very interesting, and I say that only from a journalistic point of view. One of the trails that someone to me mentioned, someone on the Capitol that I referred to earlier, was remember in Michigan when they tried to storm the Michigan State Capitol, and kidnap the governor? That's kind of like a trial run. Now, you see in authoritarian movements in countries around the world, you see a lot of these trial runs of things to sort of hone the way to do it. And that's why I'm of the pessimistic persuasion that we haven't seen the last of this. The second thing we're seeing, Howard, as you well know, is not just sort of the recounts in Arizona spreading to other states, but now Republicans are trying to focus on running Trump's candidates for Secretary of State in the different states, because that person then makes the final decision on whether an election is valid or not. I think what happened in Georgia. So we're seeing a scramble indeed on Capitol Hill to oppose this kind of investigation by Republicans, to oppose an investigation, because they don't want people to know what happened, because it can show these kind of roots of how it happened, how it extends to different parts of the state and throughout the country.
Yeah, and I do commend 35 Republicans in the House did vote for.
Okay.
Was it 35? Am I right?
I think that sounds about right. Yeah, 35.
35 Republicans did vote for this commission, and I must commend First District Congressman from West Virginia, Dave McKinley, who is a Republican and has been a pretty staunch Republican, broke with his own party and voted for it. He said I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but Dave said, we have investigated 9/11, we investigated Benghazi, we've investigated a number of other things. Why would we not have a commission to investigate this? And I really commend Congressman McKinley. I don't always agree with him in a lot of his policy matters, although I've known him for 50 years, I guess. But I don't always agree with him on policy matters, but I give him a lot of credit for having voted for the commission. I think it's a very positive thing. Now, conversely, another vote that was this week having to do tangentially with the insurrection, but certainly with protecting the Capitol. There was a vote to increase Capitol security. That just barely made it through by a single vote, Tom.
That's right, because progressive Democrats who were upset with Speaker Pelosi and other Democratic leaders on other issues decided to use this as a method to underscore their disappointment and unhappiness. That's $1.9 billion measure approved by the House that's to fortify Congress. How that would be done is unclear. And again, as you just pointed out, it's unlikely that this legislation will get a Senate vote, let alone pass the Senate. So, is it useless? This is one of these questions that, I'm asked by friends sometimes. Why do Democrats, in this case in the House, pass legislation when you think it doesn't have any chance at all of even getting a vote in the Senate? That's a kind of an interesting philosophical question, but I also think there's a practical matter to it, that you keep putting these issues out there, and that eventually, as you just pointed out, like the West Virginia congressman, you can find ways to get bipartisan consensus on some measures, and maybe they can move forward. But it's very frustrating. Today, today and tomorrow, or this week, the last of the National Guard troops who were here in D.C. are leaving. The deployment's over. And so the fence is still up around the Capitol. You need to reevaluate the security of the Capitol from January 6th. That's one lesson that was certainly learned, not just the communication, but the actual security. As someone said, some Capitol Police official said earlier this year, the Capitol was designed to welcome people, and it was never really designed to stop any kind of efforts to take it over like we saw on January 6th. that has to be a change, much like after September 11th, we changed the way we secured other buildings. How that's going to happen, I don't know. But again, why are people opposing that? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't get it either. After 9/11, we shut down Pennsylvania Avenue in front of the White House. We and certainly many other buildings too. But we acknowledge reality and have to live with it. I don't comprehend why we would not want to talk. I get that we want to make it. What's the word I'm looking for here? I'm not saying to hide it. We want to keep the security subdued. We don't want to look like an armed camp. I get that.
I think your point about the White House is a good one, Howard, on the Pennsylvania Avenue side anyway. They closed the street down so you don't have traffic going in front of the White House. Okay. That's an inconvenience that people have now dealt with, because that's been more than 20 years now or so that they did that. And the front of the White House looks beautiful. People can get in the old day. Before last summer, of course. There were people who were there all the time, tourists posing. It actually, in a way, was nicer, and yet the security had been dramatically increased. So there are ways to find this balance between improving the security as needed and desired and wisely, as well as making it still attractive. And, you could do that at the Capitol. There's a lot of natural sloping hills around it, places to have barriers that could rise quickly if you needed them. There's ways to do it. I'm not an expert on it, obviously, but I just seeing what they've done around the city, both that works, that is both beautiful, and then some ghastly-looking things also that you can see not what to do. Not do this, please.
But certainly to say that we want the Capitol to be welcoming, I get it. But we have to accept the reality that we had an insurrection when we had armed people that stormed the Capitol. We've got to be cognizant, and quite frankly, I don't know. I hope that we never have another armed insurrection. But I can't help but think somewhere out there are people planning something else.
Let me point this out, if I may. I just thought of this. Years ago, they spent a lot of money to build that Capitol entrance visitor center, which is underground on the east side of the Capitol, underground where the parking lot is. And the idea was to clear out the lines of people trying to get to the Capitol at various entrances to improve security and also to have a better experience for people arriving. So you see, that was an important step, even way before the insurrection, to help mitigate crowds trying to enter the Capitol at various entrances, where they have to go through screening devices and so forth. So they can do it. The most bad thing about that is they had to cut down a lot of the trees to do the construction. Okay. But again, there are ways to do things like that make it secure as well as still elegant.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom, let me do a real quick break. Come back. I want to talk about some foreign affairs, if you don't mind. We'll do that in a second.
Okay.
Our national correspondent, Tom Squitieri, with us here on the Watchdog Morning Show. It's 8:27. Man, moving along quickly. 27 after the hour here on a Tuesday morning.
I'm Big Rick, host of Real Big Talk.
31st.
Who takes care of yourself. So why wait to screen for colon cancer? Because when caught in early stages, it's more treatable. I'm Cologuard. I'm non-invasive and detect altered DNA in your stool to find 92% of colon cancers, even in early stages.
Tell me more.
It's for people 45 plus and average risk for colon cancer, not high risk. False positive and negative results may occur. Ask your prescriber or an online prescriber if Cologuard is right for you.
I'll do it.
Good plan.
So you don't believe in climate change?
No.
But you have geothermal heating and cooling.
Got a big tax credit, save money every month.
So you've never been to any climate change rally ever in your life?
No, I
Stay away from them.
don't plan to.
And this is what it sounds like with a drunk guy in it. How do you like the sound of that? Cops are cracking down on drunk motorcycle riders. If you ride drunk, you will get caught and you will get arrested. Drunk riding. Over the limit, under arrest. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Transportation.
Hannibal. The watchdog is protecting your yard. Join Howard Monroe, Hoppy Kercheval, Bill DeFabio, and Big Rick for the best live and local talk in the Upper Ohio Valley and beyond. Hannibal trusts the watchdog.
If you miss a part of the show or want to listen again, you can find conversations, interviews, and rants on our podcasts at Apple Podcasts or on WatchdogNetwork.com. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
A lot of new podcasts went up over the weekend, so you can check a variety of our previous interviews, including the ones from yesterday and the past week. So check out the podcast page at WatchdogNetwork.com or subscribe to our podcasts on Apple Podcasts. 69 degrees, and the fog is beginning to dissipate, and the sun is beginning to shine through. It's going to be a pit dripper day, hot and muggy, up to close to 90 before the day is over and done with. Final check with our national correspondent on a Tuesday. Tom Squitieri is here. Tom, let's head overseas a little bit. There are a couple of overseas issues, everything from Afghanistan to Belarus to, of course, the Israeli-Hamas situation. The Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, is in, I think I'm right, he's in Israel today, right?
He's there right now, I think, having a press conference, or just had one with Prime Minister Netanyahu, yes.
And what's going to come of all of this? Or is this ceasefire going to hold?
It looks like it's going to hold. I think that's worth reminding listeners that Egypt was a key interlocutor in arranging this ceasefire. And we heard all about President Trump's triumphs in the Middle East, Israel and nations, friendly to new Arab nations. But just remember President Carter and the Camp David Accords that brought Israel and Egypt together in 1979. That really laid the groundwork for any kind of peace in the Middle East, which has been elusive. But without Egypt's role in this, there may not have been a ceasefire, most likely, and this carnage would have gone on. It's an odd situation over there now. Netanyahu was on the ropes politically. This has sort of reboosted his efforts to remain as prime minister, so there's that Israeli politics angle in it as well. But if the ceasefire holds and aid starts flowing into Gaza for those civilians who were harmed during it, and then security assurances for Israel, that could be the step forward needed. And, the Biden administration is engaged, as are other nations, including Russia. And so, an international effort is probably what would keep it going. I say this with my fingers crossed.
Blinken has said, of course, he won't be meeting with Hamas. They don't recognize Israel. They're a militant terrorist group. But he is going to meet with the Palestinian president, Abbas.
Correct. Yeah, he's going to. And I think that's the balance that we're talking about here. You could bring aid into civilians in Gaza, even though Hamas will try to rip some of that off and pilfer it. That's sort of how it happens. I'm not saying it's right, but you can help the civilians rebuild and recover, but work with the Palestinians that are recognized as the governing areas of the West Bank and Gaza.
The defense secretary has been talking about Pakistan, talking with, in fact, his counterpart in Pakistan on a couple of issues, including the withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Yeah, he called him yesterday, and at our briefing, we were given what's called a readout, which is basically not much there saying as they talk. Pakistan, the Trump administration stopped security assistance to Pakistan because of its lack of support for anti-terrorist activities. And whether that was broached in this conversation, I don't know. But, Pakistan is so vital to what happens in Afghanistan. They supported the Taliban before, and they support it still now, according to government reports. It's okay to support the Taliban. That could be a moderating influence or a guiding influence. And I think that Secretary Austin wanted to kind of get some reassurances from the Pakistanians on what they're thinking. Now, this is a complicated maneuver from the United States to try to get peace in Afghanistan once we leave with NATO, and Pakistan is a key participant in anything that happens.
All right, Tom, appreciate your time today. A few odds and ends from overseas. The capital is going to continue to be a big issue, and we never know what's liable to pop up next in the nation's capital.
Well, I'll send you the recipe for the duck.
Oh, it sounds good. That sounds really good. Biff, Biff, do you like duck?
Actually, I've never had duck.
Oh,
this is a good first way to start, then, Biff.
Biffy, you do not know what you're missing. God, I love duck. I absolutely love duck. Yeah, send me that, Tom. Well, or better yet, just make some and send it. That's what you really should do.
I'll drive out and make it for you. How's that?
There you go.
Biff Davy Dolphin. How's that?
There you go. All right. Good talking to you. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Have a good holiday. This is a holiday weekend, so have a good holiday, too. All right. Tom Squitieri, our national correspondent, with us every Tuesday here on the Watchdog Morning Show. 8:35, 25 till the hour, 69 degrees. The sun is beginning to burn away, I guess, the fog outside. So that's good news. The Pit Dripper Day is on its way. Coming up in a minute or two, I want to talk about Elizabeth Warren. She wants to triple the budget for the IRS because she says we need to go after wealthy people who are dodging their taxes, which makes sense to me. We'll talk about it. Coming up next here on the Watchdog Morning Show, but first some headlines from the Big Seven, and it's also time for our Morning Mountaineer Report as we move along on a Tuesday.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's time for your...
He's not going to jeopardize that whatsoever. However, you do have Carlson Reed, who's throwing the ball extremely well of late for WVU. So it's Carlson Reed with the season hanging in his hands, getting the ball in the opener in the single elimination play-in game for West Virginia against the Kansas Jayhawks. We'll have airtime later this evening, a half an hour before first pitch, live from Oklahoma City. Ernie Galuski will join me. I'm Dan Zangrilli with today's Mountaineer Report on MSN, the Mountaineer Sports Network.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Most of us are faced with uncertainty every day. Your job, your finances, sporting events, schooling for your children, and so much more. With so much uncertainty surrounding you, there is one auto dealership that you can be certain about, and that's Doan Ford. You can be certain that you always get a great deal and the best service afterwards. Being in business for over 50 years has given Doan Ford the reputation of being a strong, reliable dealership. Be certain. Choose Doan Ford. Online at doanford.com.
I'm not buying till I check Doan Ford.
Does your dog need groomed or walked? Are you looking for a pet sitter or dog boarding options? If so, call Dirty Paws, Wheeling's newest pet care service, providing the Ohio Valley with everyone's pet care needs. Check us out on Facebook at Dirty Paws WHG or call 304-639-7754.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
This guy knows so much about sports. They based the Sports Almanac from Back to the Future off of his dream journal. He's Bill DeFabio, weekdays noon to 2, on the Valley's only network dedicated to live and local talk radio, The Watchdog.
You can watch a video cast of our show every morning on Facebook Live or on our website. Plus, check archives of all of our videos on the Watchdog YouTube channel. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
8:44, 16 till the hour, 69 degrees and partly cloudy. The fog is beginning to dissipate. The sun is certainly the prevalent factor through the fog here at my home studios in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling. 69 and foggy a little bit still at the Robinson Auto Group Studios, downtown Wheeling, in the heart of the Ohio Valley. You know, we always talk, when we talk about federal budget, the state budget, and we talk about balancing it or not having a deficit budget, we often, some people talk about raising taxes, increasing revenue, raising taxes, and then people always jump up and down and say, no, we can't raise taxes. What we need to do is seek out waste, fraud, and abuse. That's the phrase with waste, fraud, and abuse. Hear that at the state level all the time down in Charleston. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to save so much money by finding waste, fraud, and abuse. And I'm sure there is waste, fraud, and abuse in our government. State government, federal government. I'm sure there's significant money you can find if you spend time and money looking for it. No question about it. What's interesting is you never hear anybody talk about closing tax loopholes or going after wealthy people who are avoiding paying their taxes as a way to cut down on waste, fraud, and abuse. And that's what it is. When wealthy businesses or wealthy individuals avoid paying their taxes, that's abuse of the system. So Senator Elizabeth Warren wants to triple the budget for the IRS. Now, nobody likes to hear that because let's be honest about it. Nobody likes the IRS, right? I mean, it's not one of our favorite government agencies, even though it's the agency that actually goes out and comes up with the money to fund the government. But nobody likes it. We're always afraid of being audited. We're afraid that those jackbooted thugs they once upon a time were called are going to come storming into our homes and all that kind of stuff. But Warren wants to triple the budget for the IRS because she says that money would be targeted to going after wealthy people who are dodging their taxes. An interesting statistic from Business Insider. Audit rates for the wealthiest Americans, and we're all afraid of an audit. Audit rates for the wealthiest Americans are 80% lower than they were a decade ago. In other words, wealthy folks are being audited at a dramatically lower rate. The audit is how you find waste, fraud, and abuse. So Warren introduced the Restoring the IRS Act of 2021 yesterday. It is designed to dramatically increase the budget of the IRS. That money would then be used to help close the gap between the taxes wealthy people pay and what they actually pay. Now, President Biden is proposing, as part of his infrastructure plan, raising marginal taxes on the wealthy. And I think that's also a good idea. But rather than raise taxes, how about if we just make the wealthy pay what they owe? How about that? Pay what they owe. You know, Biff, you and I mean, we may look to find the little legal ways that we can to reduce our taxes. Nobody wants to pay. You know, we all want to find the legal ways to reduce our taxes. But in general, I would assume you do, and I know I do. In general, I don't want to play any funny games. I want to pay what I owe. Number one, because I believe it's the right thing to do. And number two, quite frankly, I don't want an audit. And if there is an audit, I don't want to get me in any trouble. So I try to pay what I owe. Again, I'm not saying don't use the legitimate parts of the system that allow you to reduce your taxes, whatever that might be. Of course, that's another issue. Most of us in the normal middle or lower class, we can't use loopholes. We can't go out and buy objects of art. We can't do that and then put that as get a tax credit for that because we don't have enough money to do that kind of stuff. So most of us, we count up our money, take a little bit of deductions, whatever is available to us, and we go on. But the wealthy don't. And 80%, and they're being audited at a lower rate now than they were 10 years ago. So why not? Why not increase the budget of the IRS and put that money directly towards looking at auditing wealthy people? Elizabeth Warren said yesterday, for too long, the wealthiest Americans and big corporations have been able to use lawyers, accountants, and lobbyists to avoid paying their fair share. And budget cuts have hollowed out the IRS, she said, so it doesn't have the resources to go after wealthy tax cheats. Now, again, multi-pronged approach here. Number one, like it or not, because the very wealthy can afford to use some of the tax loopholes that are written into the tax code, they are going to have greater advantages than you and I are, Biff. I don't know about you, but I'm not buying expensive art and trying to get a deduction for it. Are you? Do you have like a lot of expensive artwork in your house? You know, a Van Gogh or Rembrandt or something at your house that I didn't know about?
No, and I have no desire to get any.
Okay. All right. I mean, if we did, we can't afford it. We can't afford to take advantage of the loopholes the wealthy folks do. But they do. And I think we ought to close those loopholes, which is a different issue. But if they hire a lawyer, hire an accountant, and they find a way to legally, within the tax code, reduce their taxes, we ought to address how that's possible. But I can't fault people for trying to limit their taxes as much as possible. But when they are using avoid, there's a difference between tax, what's the word I'm looking for? They call it tax. Well, there's a difference between legitimately reducing your taxes and simply avoiding paying your taxes. And too many of the wealthy Americans, and even more so the big corporations, they just choose not to pay or not to pay the full freight. So let's audit them. And if they're not doing anything wrong, if they're using legitimate loopholes and so on, life goes on. Maybe we'll identify loopholes we ought to consider closing, but life goes on. But in the meantime, let's find out how many of the wealthy corporations and wealthy individuals are dodging their taxes. Not legitimately, but illegitimately. I like what Warren's doing here. I like what Biden's doing. It's time for the wealthy, and I'm telling you, I pay my fair share. I pay a significant share. I'm writing checks every year I wish I wasn't writing. But I don't complain. That's what being part of a society is all about. But it's time to go after the very wealthy, And I'm with the president. It's time to tax them higher. In addition to using loopholes to reduce what their taxes are, many times they're able to use loopholes so that their tax rate is lower than yours is and mine is, Biff. Why should a gazillionaire be paying lower tax rate than you or I do? That doesn't make any sense. We're good, God-fearing, hard-working American citizens. We pay our taxes, and we pay a significant share. We pay the fair share that we're supposed to. Why in the world should a wealthy person or a big corporation pay lower tax rates than we do? And God help us, there are corporations that don't pay any taxes, zero, the big goose egg.
And how does that happen?
How does that happen? I think one of those is Amazon. Now, I love Amazon. I contribute to their bottom line almost every single day. But how can they not pay taxes? There is something stinky in Helsinki.
You talk about knowing the system. My goodness.
Now, I'm going to assume that most of the time, what they're doing is a legitimate tax avoidance system. But that means the system is screwed up. And it's time to not come after us. It's time to come after them. And I don't like to talk about us versus them, but it's time to go after the very wealthy. There's a meme making its way around Facebook these days. It says, why is it when people talk about having a hard time making ends meet, everyone says, why don't you just buy fewer cups of coffee? Why doesn't anyone ever say to the wealthy individuals, well, why don't you buy fewer yachts? And that's a good point. It's a good point. It's like, Brad Leonard, you could save some money if you just wouldn't go out to eat after every golf game. Why don't you just go home and cook up some SpaghettiOs? Then you'll save money. If you're worried about money, that's what you could do. Hey, Mr. Wealthy Businessman, why don't you stop flying a corporate jet around? Why don't you sell your yacht? Why is it always we're the ones who are supposed to scrimp and save, and they're the ones that just go about their business? Oh, I'm even afraid to look at my text line. Because I know I'm going to be getting you're nothing but a lousy liberal, you're a communist, you're a socialist, people don't even know what those words mean, but they use them anyways. Lousy, libtard, I might get a libtard in there. But why should wealthy corporations and wealthy businesses get away with things that we can't get away with? It doesn't make sense. I like what Elizabeth Warren's talking about. Now, the money's got to be targeted triple the budget of the IRS, but that money needs to go specifically for investigating wealthy corporations and individuals. You know what will happen, Biff? We'll triple the budget for the IRS, and then it'll come after you and me more frequently.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, so the money has to be very carefully allocated. You're going to triple the budget to go after the wealthy. It's got to be defined that way in code. This part of the budget is only for auditing those of a certain income level and above, businesses and individuals. I like that. And I like the president's idea of asking the very wealthy, not the people making nice money. I'm not talking about, the folks who are working and have saved and maybe have inherited some money. And, I'm not talking about the average wealthy person, if you will. I'm talking about the uber wealthy, the very wealthy, and the corporations. And to repeat myself and to Biff, why in God's name should any corporation that's wealthy, now listen, when corporations or businesses or individuals are not individuals, but when businesses are tight to the bone, when they're not making any money or minimal profits, that's one thing. But when you're making the kind of money that some of these very, very large corporations are, why in the world are they not paying their full freight?
And when they make them, forget a year. If you go by quarters, what they make in a quarter.
Oh, sure.
I mean, just 1 quarter out of the year, it's unbelievable what some of these corporations make.
And they pay, in some cases, zero taxes. And in many, many, many cases, they pay lower tax rates than you or I do, Biff. Warren Buffett has famously said that his secretary pays a higher tax rate than he does. Now, he doesn't think it's right, but he says that's the way it is because of the loopholes and the ways that his accountants can figure things out, and because when you have money, you can manipulate money. I mean, if you and I, there's not a whole lot that we can do.
No, there isn't.
I mean, we pay our bills. I'm lucky enough to put a little bit of money into a retirement, Put a little money aside for Teddy. I mean, I can't go out and buy, I can't go out and buy artwork, or I can't go out and invest in, all kinds of things. Neither can you, Biff. Well, I shouldn't speak for you. I don't know. Maybe you've got a secret stash someplace that I don't know about.
No. We're good.
But we just go about our life and maybe squirrel away a little bit of money here and there. That's where most Americans are. Why in the world should corporations pay less in a tax rate than we do? It makes no sense. Go for it, Elizabeth. The Restoring the IRS Act of 2021, introduced yesterday. I guess one way we could have some more money to spend, Biff, is if we could win the lottery. We can't win the Vax-A-Million lottery. I guess we could win a big lottery, though, the Powerball or something. But we're going to talk about Vax-A-Million coming up next hour with Tyler Buchanan from the Ohio Capitol Journal, because some GOP legislators don't want to have a Vax-A-Million lottery at all. We'll talk about that. Straight ahead on the Watchdog Morning Show. 69 degrees at 9 o'clock.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
From ABC News.